My name is Coach Maynard, and I help center mids go from average to elite. And after working with hundreds of soccer players, center mids, and of all positions, and after playing 4 years at the collegiate level, 1 year semi-pro, the one quality that most of the top level players have, the ones that really are elite, is that they have ego, right? Now, a lot of people, when they think of the word ego, they think of something, they think of like a negative connotation. They think arrogant, they think cocky. And to a certain degree, yes, having too much ego can be bad, but having that ego, knowing that you're that man, knowing that you put in the work to be able to show the qualities that you have, to be able to make the impact that you can make on the field, is actually a good thing. When I got dropped from my first team and I was able to make my way back to a starter on that team, win a conference championship that hadn't been done in over 10 years, guess what? I had a bit of an ego on me. I knew deep down that I had been preparing for this moment. I had put in the work consistently. Now at first, I was just kind of winging my training sessions. Was I putting the work in? Yes. Did I see the results that I wanted to see immediately? No. That's why it took me so long. But once I started getting very intentional with my training, I started breaking down my film, seeing where I was really lacking the most in my game, and I started developing my training sessions that way. That's when I got to see real improvement. But I don't mean to say, hey, if you watch film, you're going to be this best player, because it doesn't work that way. You still have to put in the work. You still have to put in the hours. You still have to put your blood, sweat, and tears behind it. But the fact that if you are able to put yourself through that hard stuff, it's going to develop a bit of an ego. Now, with that ego comes confidence. And you need that confidence to be able to perform at a high level. A lot of my center mids, when they came to me, they were struggling with a lot of different things. Maybe their first touch, their finishing, maybe their awareness of the game, right? And after weeks, and some of them after months of training with me, they deep down, they know that they had been properly preparing for their games, right? With proper preparation comes that confidence, comes that ego, where you know that you've been putting in the work and nobody can take that away from you. Now, come game time, that's when you truly know who's been putting in the work and who has not. The ones who have been training intentionally, have been following a proper plan, the ones that are training specifically the things that they need to work on the most, as opposed to just a little bit of everything, those are the guys that you can tell have that little bit of ego in them. For example, my athlete JJ, he went from not making his varsity team, playing JV soccer, to playing abroad in Spain. G, who went from sitting the bench at his previous club team, is now playing MLS Next. And John, who went from getting 20, 30 minutes a game to now playing 90 minutes every single game for his MLS Next team. They have been able to develop that ego that pushes them to have that confidence, demand the ball, make things happen out of nothing. Without that ego, which is not a bad thing, without that ego, none of that happens. Without that ego, players tend to shy away. They tend to hide behind the defender so that they're not a viable option for their teammate. How do I know this? Because I was once in that position. I used to hide from the ball. I used to put myself in an awkward position that made it very hard to be found, so that I didn't have to lose the ball, so that I didn't have to look bad. And that's why that ego is so important, because if you have that ego, you have that confidence, you're going to play more freely because you know that you are the guy. Right now, real quick side tangent, this only works if you're properly preparing. Right? If you just go out there and tell yourself, hey, I'm the man, it might work every now and then, right? You'll be confident, you'll play carefree. I'm sure you'll have some good performances. But imagine that on top of properly preparing, knowing that you're putting in the work day after day, week after week, month after month on the things that are going to help you really become an elite center mid. You're going to be unstoppable. And then people might tell you, wow, hey man, you kind of have an ego. But guess what? That's not a bad thing. As long as you're being respectful and you're just that confident in yourself, having an ego is one of the best things you can have as a soccer player. So how do you develop this confident ego? Not arrogant ego, but the confidence ego, the one that's going to help you perform at a high level. Now, number one, it comes down to proper preparation. I've said this before, and I'm going to continue saying it. This is a huge pillar, because people can go out and train. So yeah, they're preparing, but they're not properly preparing. right? They're going out, they're guessing their workouts, they're guessing their training sessions. But when you have a proper plan designed for you and your weaknesses and your goals, that's when you're going to see exponential growth. So having a proper plan is going to help you develop that ego, that confidence. Number 2 is being aware that mistakes are going to happen, right? So whenever you're aware that mistakes are going to happen, you are no longer going into that game being fearful, afraid of making a mistake and getting subbed out. Once you realize that mistakes are part of growth and that you can learn from them, that's when you're going to continue to have more confidence, right? You're now no longer going to shy away from the ball. You're going to demand the ball even when you have pressure. And guess what? If you lose it, you just get it back. That's where most center mids go wrong, is they live in this constant fear where they're playing to not make mistakes, make their coaches happy, instead of playing their game, instead of playing freely, instead of playing confident, instead of having that ego. So once you realize that mistakes are part of the game, that mistakes are going to happen, that also is going to help you develop that confidence, that ego that you need. And lastly, you got to understand one thing. If you continue to compare yourself to other center mids, to other athletes that are maybe in the position that you want to be in, you feel like you deserve to be in, you're setting yourself up for failure. Now, you need to internalize that everybody's journey is different. Your journey is going to look completely different than mine. Yes, we might go through some similar struggles, whether you get dropped from your first team, whether you're overlooked, maybe you're in your brother's shadow, who knows. But you got to realize that the more you compare yourself to somebody, the less confident you're going to be because you feel like you're so far away from this person. But you got to realize another thing. They started down here just like you did. Now, whatever they did to get there, it could be very similar to what you need to do to get there, right? So you got to realize that you cannot be comparing yourself to other people. Your journey is different, but you still have to put in the work to become undeniable, to become that elite center mid. In order to have that ego that gives you that confidence, that's going to have you playing the best of your abilities, you need to be preparing properly. You need to be okay with failure, and you need to stop comparing yourself to others. Ultimately, all these 3 things stacked together is going to give you that ego, that confidence that some of the top players have, the elite center mids, the ones that are undeniable. When you look at those center mids and they just have that aura about them. So as a center mid, if you want to become that undeniable, that confident center mid that has that ego of confidence, not of arrogance, then you know what you need to do. And remember, guys, my name is Coach Maynor. I help center mids go from average to elite. So if you're new to the page, like this video, go ahead and subscribe. I post videos on how to help center mids absolutely dominate that midfield and make that jump from average to elite. Peace.